Brandy Jenkins with the Heather Murphy Group at Keller Williams, buyer specialist.
And I'm Michael Caputo with First Coast Mortgage here in Savannah.
We're going to discuss buyer incentives with new construction and how they will affect you positive and negatively.
What misconceptions do buyers often have about builder incentives?
So I think for me, going into a new construction model, a misconceptions that the buyers often have about those incentives is that they're going to get all those incentives. So sometimes they're stacked, and sometimes it's a A or B choice of an incentive, and they will see something in print or see something shared on social media and they think they're going to get all the incentives, and so they go in with the mindset of this is an amazing deal, and when we get there and we get to the table, it's an A or B solution, and they won't get both.
I think it's important to understand, to be crystal clear, what is my monthly payment going to be, which involves some of the interest rate buy downs, and versus what is my cash out the door, or how much money is it going to take from me to close. Sometimes those numbers can change a little bit, and so it's important to know those up front before you make your decision.
Yeah.
How can agents and mortgage advisors work together to educate buyers on both the benefits and risks?
So for myself, when I take a buyer, I normally have them pre-approved already with a local lender. So they have an estimate of, they're looking at a $400,000 house. They have an estimate of what their closing costs will be, what their interest rate may be, and what their, cash to close and what their monthly mortgage payment will be. And so we have that going in. And so then when we go meet with the builder and they have a builder lender, that you have to use that lender in order to get the builder incentives. Sometimes all those numbers change. And then I normally just request my clients get what I call it a good faith estimate because it's old school, but it has all the numbers. So it breaks down where every dollar is going, and then they can kind of factor it in looking dollar for dollar that way.
And obviously we would love the opportunity to help every buyer, because we feel when the consumer has choices, they tend to get better choices. We also understand the model that the builders have, and when there's an in-house lender, most times the buyer is required to use that lender in order to receive those incentives. So that kind of is what it is. So sometimes we can be working with somebody and they're looking at a resale and then they decide to pivot to a new construction, and we want what's best for the client. And if what the builder is offering is better, we just want to make sure they understand, specifically as it relates to the difference between a temporary buy down versus a permanent buy down. So sometimes we'll still end up working with them and educating them even though they're going a different direction, because we want to make sure that they're crystal clear on what they're signing up for.
What strategies can be used to ensure buyers maximize incentives without compromising long-term financial stability?
I always like to say it's dangerous when you go into the upgrade center. A lot of times we talk about a monthly payment that somebody is comfortable with. That translates to a max sales price that they're comfortable with. Well, in builder world, you can add on to that number and it can escalate. So we think it's important to determine the budget before you go out to look, whether it's new construction or resale, but it's important to stay within that budget. And sometimes that's hard to do when you're given a lot of options, but we definitely focus on that during the pre-approval phase.
Yeah, you definitely have to have a strategy going in when you're doing new construction versus resale, because your resale, you go in and you see and you're like, okay, I might need to upgrade the appliances, that's $5,000, or I may need a fence, or I may need a roof. And so you kind of can ballpark those numbers, but when you are building new construction, especially ground up, the base price may be $400, and that is just the base home. Well, then you're adding in a bonus room or laminate floors or stainless appliances, optional offices. And so those structures are, 20, 30 grand. If you're adding gas, it's another 20, 30 grand. So your 400 quickly can go to like 650 by the time you're done with structure options and design options. So you have to have a strategy on what your payment needs to be to keep you happy at the end of the day and where that budget needs to land.
Can builder incentives ever create pressure for buyers to move forward too quickly? And how should that be managed?
Absolutely. I have a builder background, so I've worked on site for builders previously, and they do have, incentives that do have a dead end date. So their incentive may run out December 31st. Well, if the buyer, doesn't lock in their contract with the builder on December 31st, they're going to lose the incentive that's tied to it. We have one builder here in our market, I believe every 2 weeks their incentive changes. So it's really hard for us to track that and to keep up with it. And so if you aren't locking in the builder incentive on their deadline date, then you're going to miss that incentive. So that creates, in my opinion, unnecessary pressure for a buyer, because it's already one of the most important decisions they're going to make, and you're pushing them to make this decision based on a deadline that, you know, most buyers come in, they know what they want, they know where they're going, but that's not everybody. And so that pressure is definitely, it's hard.
And most times in sales as a whole, those who are selling are trying to create some sense of urgency, you know, act now, buy now, and if you do, you're going to save this. I think the part that's important to remember for a lot of buyers, you know, we start on day one, and some people are ready to go on day two. Some people it might take 6, 12, 18 months. So looking at homes, whether it be online or in person or driving around, helps some people stay motivated and inspired to continue to make the changes, whether it's improving credit score, paying down debt, saving up money. But then they'll come across, you know, this house is like, oh my gosh, this incentive is perfect, I want to do it now, which deviates from the plan that we had talked about of them being ready. So I guess the risk would be that somebody acts too soon before they had finished the things that everybody agreed was a great idea to get done before we buy. So I think that has to be, you know, the timeline is important. Being ready, if you rush that, you know, what problems would that create, you know, post-closing? We never want someone to be stressed after they close. You want to love where you live, and being financially comfortable is a big part of that.
How do builder incentives typically affect the negotiation process with new construction homes?
Typically, in a normal market, there's not a ton of negotiation room with new construction and their incentives. So they have a budget that they stick with, like a back-end budget, and that's why they have the incentives they have. So there's not a ton of negotiation room when you're taking on the builder incentive, and it also is builder specific. Your local builders are more likely to work with you, whereas big box builders may not. They have someone high above the chain that they answer to, and they have to keep their margins where they are. Whereas your local builders will sometimes finesse the numbers, finesse the upgrades to make you happy, because they're the people you're going to see walking down the street at the grocery store. So I will say that, you know, it kind of depends on the builder sometimes, and whether or not the incentives can be enhanced is the word I've used.
And I would say sometimes, you know, incentives is one thing, which is sometimes different than price. And on resale, sometimes you'll see a buyer want to come in and say, well, gosh, I want to give them $30,000 less than that. And sometimes you'll see that same mindset, you know, in new construction, like, well, I want to get it for $30,000 less. It's important to understand why the builder is trying to protect those values for the neighborhood, because everybody else that's already closed, if they were to come in and take a $50,000 price reduction, that doesn't benefit any of the recent past clients. So incentives are things that the builder can provide, whether it be upgrades, financial incentives, rate buy downs, things like that, where they can protect everybody within the community and still continue to sell homes, you know, in the given environment that they find themselves in.
Yeah, especially if you're in a new construction community. So if you're in the first few phases, they're protecting the purchase price, because trend is they're going to go up with each new phase. So they don't want to take a $30,000 incentive and just slash the price of it. They'd rather give that to you in some kind of incentive within the home or within the rate versus the purchase price.